breaking news. Crews on the scene of a house fire in Chelsea. Roads in that area shut down. We are live at the scene with the latest.
Also, breaking crews still working to try and fix a busy street in Charlestown after a water main break met a mess of the road. We'll have details on how it has impacted the morning commute so far.
Ripped to shreds. We're seeing new video that shows the devastation Irma left behind in the Florida Keys as people who live there try to return home.
And the storm surge smothering the streets of Jacksonville, Florida, bringing dangerous and record-breaking flooding to that river city.
This is 7 News Today in New England.
It is 9 o'clock. Hope you're having a great Tuesday so far. We appreciate you watching. I'm Chris Anderson.
And I'm Nicole Oliverio. We'll have all your top stories in just a moment. But first, speaking of great, the forecast looking good for today and tomorrow, too.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's make it a third day, Ren. Is that being greedy, or can you make that happen?
It might be a little greedy, but I think I can make it happen halfway at least. We're looking at a nice stretch of weather. Temperatures staying in the 80s through the next couple days, really all the way into the end of the week. Right now, we're seeing mostly sunny skies, and that's going to be the case throughout the day today. Tomorrow will feature a few additional clouds, but by and large, still plenty of sunshine to be had through the next couple of days. Temperatures are currently just shy of 70 degrees here in Boston, 67 in Worcester, 54 in Orange, so we're warming up nicely, but it has been a cool start for us. Despite a fall-like start, temperatures into the afternoon are certainly summer-like. We're looking at highs in the mid-80s for most of us, with cooler temperatures across the Cape. As we do head into the next couple of days, we stay in the 80s, but you do see our summer stretch does have an end. So we're going to kind of fall off a little bit each day here. Back into the upper 70s by Friday, and seasonable temperatures in the mid-70s this weekend.
You know what, Ren? We'll take it. Thank you. And we are following breaking news. Crews are on the scene at this house fire in Chelsea. We want to get right out now to 7's John Kogo, who's live at the scene with the latest details. And you just spoke with firefighters, John.
That's right, Nicole. Right now, the flames are out. The fire is under control. If you take a look behind me here, you can see firefighters are still on scene. They're still dealing with some small hot spots at this point, but the plan is for them to be moving out of here sometime soon. Right now, they have part of Broadway closed here. They're hoping to open that back up sometime soon. But if you pan over this way, you can see this house sort of set back here. That's the house where the fire happened. You can see that window right at the top there. Firefighters knocking that out. That's where flames were shooting out earlier this morning. We're told that the call for this fire came in at around 7 this morning. There was a lot of smoke in this area at that time. But part of the issue for this fire was that the home is set back behind another home. And firefighters say that was really the biggest challenge for them, getting all of their equipment back there to deal with some of the flames and the smoke. And firefighters say they had to get 18 adults and 6 children out of this home. Most of the fire was on the top floor to the back of the building.
We had a heavy fire from the top floor of a 2.5-story wood frame building, and we were able to get hose lines in place, and we did a quick search. We were able to get we got 18 adult occupants and 6 children out of the building, and you see right now we have the fire knocked down.
And so another concern for firefighters this morning, there's a school just up the street here. With this all being closed, they had to get all of these fire trucks in here, all of their equipment in here, while most of these parents that live in this area were trying to take their kids to that school up the street. But the fire department saying that they really didn't have any issues with that. So that's the latest live here in Chelsea. John Coco, 7 News Today, New England.
We are also following breaking news caused some major commuter concerns this morning. Lots of water on Rutherford Avenue in Charlestown because there was a water main break. And Victoria Warren's been following the story all morning long as work crews have made some progress. Where does it stand now, Vicki?
Well, the water is shut off, but the roadway is still shut down. So that means that there's a giant traffic mess. But take a look behind me, an encouraging sight. They brought in the heavy equipment now, and the heavy equipment is here to start doing the repair work. And once the repair work happens, that's when they will reopen this stretch of road. But what a morning commute. All of this starting right around 3 in the morning. That's when water started gushing out of a broken water main here on Rutherford Avenue. This is just south south of where the traffic circle at the Sullivan Square T station is, and this is the main way into the city for anyone exiting I-93 at exit 28. They are so far able to keep the tunnel on Route 99 open. That goes underneath here. That's the road that goes from Everett to Boston, but there's traffic on there. And take a live look right now at I-93. This is actually northbound. This is an exit ramp, and if you're sitting in this traffic, this is the exit ramp that would take you to the Sullivan Square T station, and it's been like this for hours now, pretty much bumper to bumper. So you can imagine in every direction, this is the type of traffic that we're seeing. But again, right out here on Rutherford Avenue, the encouraging site, the heavy equipment is in. They are working on the necessary repairs. They have not been able to give us a timeline yet as to when they will have this stretch of roadway open, but they do assure us that they are working as quickly as possible. Live this morning in Charlestown, Victoria Warren, 7 News, Today New England.
And we're following more breaking news. Crews dealing with the second water main break, but this one happened in Wellesley. This was the scene on Route 9 East just before the 95 on-ramp. Police had to shut down the road and the ramp for a time, but now both are back open.
Time now for a look at the roadways and a busy start to the day, Elena, that continues into the 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah, busy all morning long. Rutherford Ave, live look at that right now, still closed between Sullivan Square and the Bunker Hill Community College due to that water main break. If you normally take the Sullivan Square exit off of 93, probably very backed up right now. What you can do to avoid that is just continue on 93 into Boston, take the Government Center exit, and then backtrack on North Washington Street back into the Charlestown area. 99 is open, probably a bit delayed there. Also some delays on the Orange Line too due to an earlier power problem. 93 in general is stop and go into the city, and the expressway too is pretty heavy right now. Same with Route 3 there. Big backups there leading up to the split. 2495 stop and go approaching 128. If you're taking the Pike in, that's busy from Framingham pretty much all the way into Boston there. Up north 2 and 3, they're doing okay. Your drive time pretty big. 35 on the expressway, 17 on the Pike, 32 on 93.
Now for the very latest on what's left of Irma. It is no longer a tropical system. It is now just considered remnants after tearing through much of Florida as a powerful hurricane. We're also getting a closer look at the devastation that people who live there will be returning to. This is actually a view from above of Key Largo, and you can see the huge piles of debris right on the ground there.
And in the Miami area, more damage. Look at the docks here and the shoreline, boats and what's left of them washing up on the shore. Others were carried even farther inland by the storm surge. An aircraft carrier and some other Navy ships are now helping with search and rescue operations in Florida. And it's still unclear how many people defied the orders to evacuate and decided to stay behind.
An estimated 13 million people. That's 2/3 of the people who live in Florida. Still do not have power. 7's Carrie Corrado joins us now with more.
Well, good morning. Homes and businesses destroyed as videos coming out of Key West in Miami. They show just how powerful Irma was and how much damage occurred to the area when the rain and the wind swept over the area. Pockets of widespread destruction in Florida Keys as homes are destroyed. In Key Largo, this business was destroyed when Irma roared across the island as a Category 4 storm. Boats were tossed like toys. Irma sent a storm surge into neighborhoods, sending boats out of the water and causing streets to flood. Ken Anderson flew over the Keys and took this video. Currently, there is no power, water, or cell service in the area.
A lot of destruction throughout, all the way from Miami down to Key West.
The Florida governor toward the destruction from the air.
My heart goes out to the people in the Keys. I mean, there's devastation. And you know, I just hope everybody survived. It's horrible what we saw.
In Miami, boats sank in the high winds, some boats ending up on their sides while others were pushed onto the dock, and some even ending up on the shore. At the Port of Miami, cargo containers were tossed around. The retractable roof on the stadium where the Miami Marlins play damaged by the strong winds. Authorities urged those living in downtown Miami to evacuate as winds caused cranes to topple over. The winds causing a plane to flip over. The government focusing now on those affected near Jacksonville.
There's a number of priorities for the federal government. Right now, because the storm's still ongoing, our priority is life-saving, life-sustaining. Jacksonville and the Keys are taking a considerable amount of our attention right now.
Miami Beach welcoming its residents back into the city this morning a little more than an hour ago at 8 o'clock. Carrie Corrado, 7 News, Today New England.
Carrie, thank you. And Irma also wreaking havoc on the historical areas a little farther to the north. Streets of Jacksonville turned into rivers after the St. Johns River just expanded beyond its shores. The storm surge produced record-breaking floods. Governor Rick Scott says the state has a lot of work ahead of it to get back on track.
I pray that everybody gets back to their houses as fast as possible. Working hard to get the power back on in the state, but 2/3 of our homes are without power right now.
Florida is not alone trying to battle back from Irma's effects. Parts of coastal South Carolina also flooded. Many roads there deemed impassable at this point. Several power outages reported as well. Let's go over to 7's Kim Lucy, who is now joining us with more on Irma and still threatening some parts.
That's right, Chris. Irma causing plenty of flooding and damage in Georgia and South Carolina. Now she's moving north. The destruction continues. Next in the path, Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee. A water spout spins over the ocean off the South Carolina coast, another indication of the power of Irma, even as she continues to weaken heading north. The Carolinas, Alabama, and Georgia have now been battered. Waves crashed over the famous seawall in Charleston, South Carolina during high tide.
The battery was breached and many of our low-lying areas are experiencing flooding right now.
Cars in Georgia were swallowed by water, this one in Savannah. A family in Valdosta managed to escape when a tree crashed through their home. The woman living there says she heard a huge bang and then her daughter scream.
In my ears, my daughter's scream will be there, and I thank God that everybody is safe.
In Florida, the scope of Irma's wrath is just now becoming clear. Millions of residents are still without power, including a large portion of Miami. Further south, the governor describes the Florida Keys as devastated. 6 deaths in Florida have been blamed on Irma, along with 3 in Georgia, 1 in South Carolina. Meanwhile, now several schools in Tennessee have canceled classes as they brace for the storm. Kim Lucy, 7 News Today in New England.
And this is video from the Riverside section of Jacksonville, where people had to be rescued from their homes after the rising floodwaters left them trapped inside. For more on the conditions there, we want to go live now to Holly Furfer. And I know you said the worst of it wasn't over yet this morning.
No, Nicole, good morning. We're watching the shoreline very closely here. A lot of people think, well, why was Jacksonville so bad? Because it was a tropical storm when it hit this area, but the storm surge, that water surge, was equivalent to a Category 3 storm. That's why it was so powerful. And the St. Johns River was 5.5 feet at high tide above record levels. They haven't seen water like this since they started recording it in 1846. And we're standing in front of the St. Johns right now, and you can see that railing behind me. Steps go down to that railing where people can walk along the river walk and see the river at a distance. Not today, and this is low tide. It came in went out about 6 a.m. this morning, and we're watching it closely because high tide comes in about noon. We're expecting to see possibly water where we're standing. Yesterday it was about 3 blocks into the city. We don't know where it's going to go today, but they say it will be pretty high today. And also, Nicole, yesterday, a lot of residents, 356 people were rescued because they were stranded in their homes, not expecting the water, Nicole, to be quite this high.
All right, that's Holly Furfer reporting in Jacksonville, Florida. And if you'd like to help those who were impacted by the storm, there are several ways that you can do it. Organizations like the American Red Cross and Habitat for Humanity are accepting out-of-state volunteers to help with on-the-ground support and rebuilding. If you can't travel to Florida, hospitals are asking for blood donations because supplies could become dangerously low. You could also donate money to charities like the Salvation Army, Red Cross, and other reputable relief funds.
Happening today, the man charged in the killing of an engaged couple is scheduled to be arraigned today. 38-year-old Bampumin Teixeira is accused of killing Dr. Richard Field and Dr. Lena Bolanos in their Boston condo back in May. Police say they found Teixeira in the scene and they shot him after they say he pointed a weapon at them. That weapon turned out to be fake, according to police. Teixeira has pleaded not guilty on 2 counts of murder.
To the latest on the nuclear crisis in North Korea, we are now getting a new look at Kim Jong-un just moments before a successful test of a hydrogen bomb. These photos show them inspecting the bomb before it was detonated. This alleged test is the latest in a series over the past several months. The UN Security Council, meantime, approving new sanctions against North Korea. It's in response to the country's growing nuclear and ballistic missile programs. The sanctions did not include a ban on oil imports, which the U.S. was pushing for. The compromise resolution was worked out in negotiations with Russia and China, which could veto any new resolution. And lawmakers returning to Capitol Hill today, and they have several items on their agenda. House committee will hold a hearing today on North Korea's sanctions and diplomacy, and the Senate will begin to focus on the defense policy bill. Democrats are planning to fight President Trump's new ban on transgender military members, and the Senate Health Committee will hold 2 hearings on health care this week.
So much more ahead here on the news station this morning. Emotions boiling over as the family of a young girl who was killed in a hit and run recently unable to control themselves after a not guilty plea from the suspect.
And a first-of-its-kind program beginning today at Bridgewater State College, why a controversial drug is now available on campus.
Plus a look at a summertime forecast I think you're going to like after this.